Open your Bibles, if you would, to Job chapter 6. We're going to do Job chapter 6 and chapter 7 this evening. If you remember, when we've been studying through Job, and Job chapter 3, Job gives his lament after he lost everything. So he gives a lament, and his friends are there with him, and the first speech is given by Eliphaz in chapters 4 and 5. And it's not exactly what Job was expecting. It's not what he was looking for. And so here's his reply to Eliphaz in these two chapters. Going through the letter of Job may seem depressing at times, but we can glean a lot on how we should deal with persecution upon us, whether people are realizing they're persecuting us or attacking us in some way. We can learn how Job deals with this and try to take on this same kind of attitude of patience and reliance upon God as well. But let's look at you'll see up here I got the chapter broken down. I got 4 sections for chapter 6 and 3 for chapter 7. Chapter 6, let's start with verses 1 through 7. Then Job answered, "Oh, that my grief were actually weighed and laid in the balances together with my calamity. For then it would be heavier than the sand of the seas. Therefore my words have been rash. For the arrows of the Almighty are within me. Their poison my spirit drinks. The terrors of God are arrayed against me. Does the wild donkey bray over his grass? Or does the ox low over his fodder? Can something tasteless be eaten without salt? Or is there any taste in the white of an egg? My soul refuses to touch them. They are like loathsome food to me." Okay, so let's look at these first 7 verses. What do you think in verses 1 through 3? What is Job saying here? What's going on? I'm talking about his grief were weighed, the balances, together with his calamity. What is he saying?
Well, I think number one, he's acknowledging that he has sin in his life. So if you lay my vexation, his difficulties, if you could weigh them along with his iniquity, meaning his sin, right? That they would be heavier than the sands on the ocean.
Okay.
So he's acknowledging, I think.
He's had sin. He's not saying he's a sinner, but he is acknowledging the burden of his. I think the calamity there. It is the same Hebrew word that could be used for iniquity, but I hesitate to say that it is, because later on he'll say he has no sin, and it's either in this chapter or 7. So I think he's just thinking about all the problems that he currently is going through. I think this is his initial reply to Eliphaz. Here's his friend. They sit with him, right, for 7 days, not a word. Job finally opens up with a lament, how he wishes he'd never lived. And then Eliphaz, does he give him words of encouragement? Not at all. I mean, his burden is so heavy and difficult. And it was for that reason. His words had been rash. That word rash, reckless, you could say. He was just venting. And so it's evident that Job was struggling with the meaning, I think, maybe of his relationship with God. He viewed God as one shooting poisonous arrows at him. That's what he's saying there. Was that verse 4? For the arrows of the Almighty are within me. Their poison my spirit drinks. Why does he call it poison? Who does he think is causing all of this to happen to him? God. But he doesn't understand why. He doesn't know why these things are happening. The terrors of God are arrayed against me. And then he talks about the donkey and the ox, how they don't turn their nose up to their food, but can something tasteless, verse 6, be eaten without salt? Or is there any taste to the white of an egg? Does that make sense? Who likes hard-boiled eggs? What does the whites taste like? Nothing. I mean, I like hard-boiled eggs, but I salt every bite. I salt every bite. And he's saying it's tasteless. This is my life. I can't taste anything, and my soul refuses to touch them. What good is it? His life has become loathsome. He doesn't want anything. He just wants to be done with life. And then verses 8 through 13. So that's his grief, but he has not denied the Lord. Look at verses 8 through 18. Oh, that my request might come to pass, and that God would grant my longing. Would that God were willing to crush me, that he would loose his hand and cut me off. But it is still my consolation, and I rejoice in unsparing pain, that I have not denied the words of the Holy One. What is my strength that I should wait? And what is my end that I should endure? Is my strength the strength of stones, or is my flesh bronze? Is it that my help is not within me, and that deliverance is driven from me? For the despairing man there should be kindness from his friend, so that he does not forsake the fear of the Almighty. My brothers have acted deceitfully like a wadi, like the torrents of a wadis which vanish, which are turbid because of the ice, and into the snow melts. When they become waterless, they are silent. When it is hot, they vanish from their place. So I went all the way to 17. I meant to go to verse 13, but my fault, because I had an 18 written up there. It's supposed to be the 13. But so let's look at verses 8 through 13 there. So he's talking about the Lord, and what does he wish? He wished God would just cut me off. Go ahead and crush me, kill me, get it over with. Because what's the point? Am I strong? Is there something in the future for me? Is there a reason, or is there a purpose for you, Lord, to keep me going? Why are you doing this? Is what he's asking. He can't figure it out. And then verse 13 is the end of it. Is it that my help is not within me, and that deliverance is driven from me? And that question is more about if there's any deliverance for him, if there's anything that's going to happen for him, it's not going to come from Job. Is there any help? Because help's not coming from the Lord in his eyes. He can't help himself. And that's why, of course, I already read it. And then he kind of turns to his friends. What about you, buddies, friends? You going to help me? Clearly not. Here, I thought you were going to come and help share the burden. But no. What are they? We already read it, verses 14 to 17. Oh, it's to 23. But we read down to verse 17. Let's read 18 to 23. The path of their course wind along, they go up into nothing and perish. The caravans of Tema looked, the travelers of Sheba hoped for them. They were disappointed, for they had trusted. They came there and were confounded. He's talking about the waters that would come through those wadis during the heavy rains, but then they would come, and then what would happen to the waters? Just like here in our desert, the rains would come, there would be tons of water, it would be everywhere, and then within a few days, where's the water? It's gone. It's gone. And so they're looking, and where is it? Verse 21, indeed, you have now, talking about his friends, you have now become such. You see a terror and are afraid. Have I said, give me something? Or offer a bribe for me from your wealth? Or deliver me from the hand of my adversary? Or redeem me from the hand of the tyrants? So what is he saying about his friends here? How useful are they? Useless. You're about as useful as someone walking out in the desert and hoping to find water. You got nothing. You brought nothing for me. And have I asked you for anything? When all this was coming upon me, did I ask you for any help whatsoever? I did not. But when you come and look at me, he says, where is that at? Oh, in verse 21, indeed, you have now become such. You see a terror and are afraid. He's talking about the way they were looking at him. What are they terrified about? They think they don't want to have anything to do with him. Man, he must be a sinner. We're not going to try to take on any of his burden. We don't want any of this to come upon us. What was looking up to the, not up, well, maybe, to the time of David. Remember when David acted like a crazy man when he was in the town of the Philistines? Why did he act that way? You remember?
So they wouldn't kill him.
So they wouldn't kill him, because he was the one that killed their tens of thousands. But the king wouldn't touch him because they believed that a superstition. If they touched him, because they thought the gods were cursing him, if they were to touch him or do anything for him, then the gods would turn on them. And I think this is the way Job's friends are reacting to Job. They don't want whatever curse he's got on them. And that's what they think he has. He sinned, he's cursed by God, so he must repent. And that's what they're calling on him to do. So, his friends are deceitful. Here they came, like we said in the beginning, they looked like they were going to give him help and some support. But as soon as they opened their mouth, none at all. And how shocking that must have been for Job to think that here they are, they're here to help. He laments, hoping to hear some words of encouragement perhaps, and all he gets is, Job, you're a sinner. God is doing this to you. You need to repent. What? What are you talking about? You think this is all my fault? And so verses 24 to 30. He has not sinned. Verse 24. Teach me, and I will be silent. And show me how I have erred. How painful are honest words. But what does your argument prove? Do you intend to reprove my words when the words of one in despair belong to the wind? You would even cast lots for the orphans and barter over your friend. Now please look at me and see if I lie to your face. Desist now, let there be no injustice, even desist. My righteousness is yet in it. Is there injustice on my tongue? Cannot my palate discern calamities? Okay, so verses 24 to the end of this chapter. I got one little gnat, and he will not leave me alone. So, what are your thoughts on that? I like that opening. Teach me and I'll listen, and I will be silent. Show me how I have erred. What is he asking for?
Well, he's asking, yeah, I mean, I think he's wanting to know if what his friend is saying is true.
Yeah.
Is it something that I've done?
Where's your evidence?
Bring this on, right?
You're saying a lot.
I also look back at verse 10 where he says, but it's still my consolation and I rejoice in unsparing pain, but I have not denied the words of the Holy One. So even though he's been under so much duress, he has not rejected God. But he's saying, but I can't hold out forever. My flesh isn't bronze. I'm not made of stone. And so to what end am I going to resist this? I need
some encouragement here.
I need relief from this. And, so I don't know. I wonder if 24 isn't saying, show me how have I rejected you? Even under all this duress, I still haven't rejected you or said anything against you.
Yeah, against God, right?
Show me what I've said that's wrong. Why won't you give me relief?
Yeah.
That's the way I take it.
I think you're right. And that's what he's asking his friends. So you got a lot of charges against me, Eliphaz, and buddies. But, I mean, you heard me, my lament. Was there anything there? You've been here for a week. I haven't denied the Lord. And yet you have all these accusations. And you've got nothing. It's just accusation. You're just throwing stuff out there. But there's nothing to it. But I'll listen. I'll be quiet. You tell me.
Do you think he's talking to Eliphaz there or to God?
I think he's talking to everyone. We'll see. We see that in where is it at? Well, I think he's talking to Eliphaz and his friends. But no, I think he's talking to God when he gets into chapter 7.
I was looking at verse 14 too. It says, "For the despairing man
Where is
receives
that?
kindness from his friend, lest he forsake the fear of the Almighty." I think he's worrying that, if this goes on, how long can one bear up underneath such pressure and stress, before you forget, the fear of God, and then you do something that you wish you hadn't against God.
That's right. Now I'm irritated with myself. I had something here, but I can't find it now. But, I think he's talking to his friends here at the end of chapter
I guess in
6.
25, he says, but what does your argument prove? So he would be, I guess, responding to Eliphaz.
Well, and how painful are honest words. And I think Eliphaz, he's saying, I think you're finally being honest with me here. And it's painful because it's not what I expected from you. I wonder, and there is a debate, like I wonder if maybe these aren't just friends, but these are his closest friends. And here they come. And now he's hearing words that he's never heard from them before. It's like, is this really what you think of me?
Now,
Like, unbelievable.
my verse 25 says, honest words are not painful. I think he's saying. If
Yours says are not painful? That's
Yeah,
what yours said?
That's what my version is.
Mine's the New American Standard. It's the standard.
That's what mine
Well, mine's the standard. Yours is, you have a different,
I have an older version.
oh, okay.
Older is closer to the source, Chris.
Oh, well, they got the newer stuff, so that's why they got to update. What does the 2020 say, Jim?
Painful are honest words.
They kept it. Interesting. I didn't see that when I was going through this.
Because I think what he's saying
But-
is if you know what has brought this calamity upon me, tell me. It can't be any worse than what I'm already going,
Yeah.
It can't be any worse than what I'm already going through. Just tell me. If you know what I've done, tell me.
And then, but that second part's the best part. What does your argument prove? You saw a dream? It means nothing. And so he's wanting them to talk up, where's your evidence? And from here in chapter 7, Job continues his speech. He describes his constant pain. He gives us some details here. But let's look at verses. He's talking about his life. It's wearisome, it's short, it's bitter. He is going to speak to God here in this chapter. He says, need to get rid of this gnat. Verse 1 through 6. Is not man forced to labor on earth? And are not his days like the days of a hired man? As a slave who pants for the shade, and as a hired man who eagerly waits for his wages, so am I allotted months of vanity, and nights of trouble are appointed me. When I lie down, I say, when shall I arise? But the night continues, and I am continually tossing until dawn. My flesh is clothed with worms and a crust of dirt. My skin hardens and runs. My days are swifter than a weaver's shuttle, and come to an end without hope. So, verses 1 and 2, he talks about that these workers who are usually pretty poor, they're hired men, and they hire themselves out for a day. They're trying to earn some money for themselves and their family. They barely make enough wages to provide food. The slave could only hope for rest in the shade of a rock or maybe the shade of a tree. And so he's making these observations, and here in the first two verses, and then he talks about himself there in verse 3. So am I allotted months of vanity. And what are his nights? He goes to lay down to go to sleep. He doesn't get any. The night takes forever. The days go on. The sores, they crust over and dry, and then they break open again and ooze out again. And the pain keeps him awake every single day, every single night. I've been sick. I remember when I had COVID, and I only had it one time where it was really bad, and I could not get any sleep. I remember Jenny going through that, and a few others. And I just remember that it was like a week, but it felt like a whole year. You ever been sick like that? You could never get any sleep. You couldn't get any rest, and it just felt like forever. And that's Job. That's what he's talking about. I can't get sleep. My days are long. The sores and the pain doesn't go away. It feels like I've been here going through this forever. And to what end? And come to an end without hope. Because every day, it's still the same. It hasn't gotten better. It's not going away. It's still there. And so, how's his life? Wearisome. And then verse 7 through 10. Remember that my life is but breath. My eye will not again see good. The eye of him who sees me will behold me no longer. Your eyes will be on me, but I will not be. When a cloud vanishes, it is gone. So he who goes down to Sheol does not come up. He will not return again to his house, nor will his place know him anymore. So really it's the brevity of life. At this point, I think Job is turning away from addressing his friends. I think he's speaking directly to God. It opens up with that, remember him. Remember that my life is but a breath. Why would he want God to remember that? Because when you say your life is but a breath, it's short, right? Why does he want God to remember that?
Doesn't live the rest of his life like that.
Yeah. When am I? Why are you doing this? What use are you getting out of this? Is what he's wondering. He doesn't understand why these are happening. Your eyes will be on me, but I'll be no more. You will go on. You're forever, but I'm a breath. Why? Remember, he's in his perspective. We're seeing that he's already said it once. He'll say it again here in a moment. That he thinks this God is doing this to him, but he doesn't know, nor does he understand why God is doing this. His life is short, and therefore, verses 11 to 21, you got the bitterness of his life. Therefore, because of this, because his life is short, because God's hand is on him, therefore I will not restrain my mouth. I will speak in the anguish of my spirit. I will complain in the bitterness of my soul. Am I the sea or the sea monster that you set a guard over me? If I say, my bed will comfort me, my couch will ease my complaint, then you frighten me with dreams and terrify me by visions, so that my soul would choose suffocation, death rather than my pains. I waste away. I will not live forever. Leave me alone, for my days are but a breath. What is man that you magnify him, and that you are concerned about him, that you examine him every morning and try him every moment? Will you never turn your gaze away from me, nor let me alone until I swallow my spittle? Have I sinned? What have I done to you, O watcher of men? Why have you set me as your target, so that I am a burden to myself? Why then do you not pardon my transgression and take away my iniquity? For now I will lie down in the dust, and you will seek me, but I will not be. All right. In that passage, does anything sound familiar to you in that passage? Look at that phrase in verse 17. What is man that you magnify him and that you are concerned about him? Does that sound familiar? Oh, I think Ashton might know. No? Nope? Okay. Nothing?
Somebody said it in the New Testament too. I can't think of who it was.
Well, David says it in the Psalms. He's looking up at the heavens. What is man that you are mindful of him? But when he says it, what is he saying? Oh man, amazing that God takes an interest in us. When Job says it, what is he saying? Why are you taking an interest in me? Why? What have I done? Please take your gaze off of me. So it's very clear. I think that's why here in the very beginning we're getting this. It is very clear Job is convinced God is doing this to him. He even asks, have I sinned? Because he thinks he hasn't. Those things have been covered. His iniquity has been taken care of. He has asked for forgiveness on those things. So why is this happening? And I like how he also opens up, going back a little bit. Where's it at? Oh, in verse 12. Am I the sea or the sea monster that you set a guard over me? So, what do you think I am? What do you think I'm a great threat to you? When you think about it, for them in that day and age, when they would talk about the sea is a great, vast ocean. They can't see the end of it. And many in his day would worship and deify the sea. So he's asking God, do you think I'm the sea? Do you think I'm a sea monster that I have to have you guard over me to make sure I don't go do whatever it is you think I'm going to do? I mean, if you really thought God was bringing all this calamity upon you, why? What's the danger in me? Why not just snuff me out? My life is just a breath, but you leave me alive. Why is it? He doesn't understand. But he does believe all this is happening because God has got his eye on him, is upset with him. But he does not know why God is upset with him. And so, verse 21, why then do you not pardon my transgressions? What is he saying with that? I've asked for forgiveness. I have given sacrifice. Are you not taking my sin away? Is that what's happening? I don't understand. He's looking for an answer. For now, I will lie down in the dust, and you will seek me, but I will not be. He just wants to die. He's a breath. So why is God bothering with it? So here he is. He has his lament. His friends are with him, and he's thinking he's got some support, but they're not. There's no support. He has lost all his wealth. He lost all his children. His wife seems to turn on him. God is not helping him. He's lost his health, and he's lost his friends. He has nothing. Nothing. Now he's wondering, man, God's left me too, or at least he's against me, but I don't know why. And in all of this, does he ever curse God or sin or blame God? He does not. He's not blaming God for anything. He does think God's doing something to him. He just doesn't know why God's doing it. He doesn't understand. And he's looking for answers. Is what he's saying here to God, is it wrong? There in verses 11 to 21. If you say no, you want to say, explain why you think it's not? Well, yeah. God wants us to be curious. He wants us to bring things to him. We see this a lot in the Psalms as well. Is David ever angry with God in the Psalms in his prayers? Yes, he is. More so than Job seems to be in his prayers. But there's nothing wrong with it, especially when we don't understand. As long as we, number one, we don't blame God. Yes, is he in control? Yeah. In some of my prayers, I've asked, it's like, why are we going through this? I mean, I get why, I think, but there's sometimes I would wish, can we get a little bit of reprieve? There's a lot of us who are trying. Not everyone's bowed the knee. Can we get something? Can we have a little bit of reprieve? Are there no leaders? And I wonder, how much longer? How much more? But then, I don't know. God does. I don't blame him. He knows. He knows what's best. I just have to keep on. I keep hoping that maybe this is it. Maybe this will be the point where we'll get another chance. I feel like Habakkuk. Remember what Habakkuk asked God? He was saying, "Why aren't you doing something about Israel?" "Oh, I am. I'm going to raise up the Assyrians." Ooh, not them. So sometimes I feel like that. And Job is wondering the same thing. Why is this happening to me? And he will answer.
Does your version in verse 20 use the word target? Why it says,
Oh, yeah. Why have you set me as your target so that I am a burden to myself? Because he is. Is he being targeted? I mean, if just one or two or three bad things, but everything all at once.
And then verse 21, I love the very end, where it says, for now I lie down in the dust, and thou wilt seek me, but I will not be. I'm gonna lie down in the dust.
I'm done.
Unless you give me some kind of
Something.
relief here.
That's true. Boy, I feel bad. I mean, I shouldn't smile or laugh. I mean, I feel bad for him.
But the way that he verbalizes it.
Yeah, yeah. It's like
He's sleeping in ashes because it's softer than other things.
it's something.
It's covered with oil, having suffered from boils as a child. They're terrible, all but only at one at a time. You can't imagine having one because they're feverish, painful.
Oh, I've never had to deal with that. I've never seen it. I hope I never do. But yeah, it is sad what he's going through. And This is all brought about because of Eliphaz. And next week, we're going to have to close out here. Next week, we're going to look at Bildad is next. He's going to give his speech. It's only one chapter, chapter 8. Please read that. And if you can, take some notes on that. Or write down some thoughts that you have on this. And we'll work through this next week. And you would think, after everything Job says here, that his friends would step back a little bit and think, well, he makes a good point. What is our proof? Why are we bringing this to him? And why is this happening to him? Maybe we ought to inquire of the Lord. And we'll see what Bildad has to say. Read that this week, and bring your thoughts next week on chapter 8. And then Job will have a 2-chapter response to that one. Any other comments or questions on that? Man, just feel bad for Job. I know we're a little over, but I see a lot of correlation of what he's going through and what we go through in this world as well. Sometimes do you ever get attacked without any evidence whatsoever? Does that happen? Do we see it happening in the news to other people, maybe politics? We see it all the time now. If people think for just a moment emotionally or that you did something wrong, their emotion takes over, and they allow their emotions to dictate their thought, their thinking patterns. Bill O'Reilly, I listen to him a lot. He says that there's no due process in this country anymore, because according to our laws, are you guilty as soon as you are charged with a crime? What has to happen first? It has to be proven in court. You are innocent until proven guilty. Does that happen today? Very little. Very little. It doesn't matter. It's all emotion. It's all emotion. And then Job is dealing with that. So it goes back to what Solomon said. Is there anything new under the sun? This has been going on since the days of Job. He's being a constant. He's being accused of everything that's happening to him as being his own fault. And he asks, what's your evidence? Show me. I'll listen. They're not going to give it. They don't have any. But they still condemn him. And that can happen to us. Could you go through the same things Job is going through? And will your faith stand against such an onslaught? From people who you think are your friends, or at least on your own side? Would that be difficult? It would be. Fortify your faith and be prepared. These sort of things will come upon us. We have to be ready.